So moving forward, after that lovely contribution and discussion where everyone shared their own experience, let's read what Master DK has to tell us about humanity in general. Ben, would you read this for us, please?
Now, the time has now come when there are enough people to be found who, having themselves made the religious and the mental approaches to truth, define factors in their consciousness in some small measure, and have established enough soul contact so that they can begin to touch the world of ideas upon the intuitional levels of consciousness, and then and can employ a new technique. Together and as a group, they can become sensitive to the incoming new ideas, which it is intended should be the conditions of the new age that is upon us. Together and as a group, they can establish the ideals and develop the techniques and the methods of the new schools of thought, which will determine the new culture. Together and as a group, they can bring these ideas and ideals into the consciousness of the masses so that schools of thought and world religions can be blended into one, and the new civilization can emerge. It will be the product of the mental and emotional fusion of the techniques of the Piscean age, and it will thus produce an eventual manifestation upon the physical plane of the plan of God for the immediate future. This is the vision which lies behind the experiment being carried out in the new seed groups.
Thank you, Ben. We're going to pause for a moment and then go to the next slide. Consider for yourself, have you had contact with these groups and schools of thought who have achieved this mental and emotional fusion of the techniques of the Piscean age and can then produce eventual manifestation upon the physical plane of the plan of God for the immediate future? That's the question. The ultimate goal, Master DK tells us, with the reappearance of the coming one, the relation between the solar plexus center and the heart, in which the 10 of the perfect man in this solar system, the avatar, is lost in the consummated 12. As the 12 creative hierarchies in their outer and creative aspect are contacted by the coming one, who is the perfected quaternary from the standpoint of the form. So, in the relation between the solar plexus and heart, is the second aspect, love wisdom, perfected. Then the love of the soul can express itself perfectly through the emotional nature. The goal of the externalization, the goal for the coming one. So we're given instructions in a treatise on white magic because he tells us that aspirants and disciples represent those brain cells which are beginning to fall into the larger divine rhythm. We can be responsive. The achieving of focused attention and mental quiet, wherein reality can be contacted, the true and the beautiful can be registered, divine purpose can be recorded, and it becomes possible to transmit to the phenomenal form upon the physical plane the needed energy whereby the subjective realization can be materialized. And then we're given 3 particular applications. And as we look at our groups, the groups that we experienced ourselves, the groups that we see as ready to move forward, the aspirants in those groups are able to hold this focused attention and mental quiet and to transmit to the phenomenal form their own soul purpose. The disciple is learning to do this in relation to group purpose. And I'm sure we have experienced ourselves in group when the group purpose isn't completely aligned, but it is getting closer and closer. And each time the group meets, it can grow and expand. And for the initiates in these groups, their purpose is the cooperation with the planetary purpose. So they are beyond the 3rd and maybe even the 4th initiation. So if we're fortunate, we have higher initiates in our groups, or we can note the energy of the higher initiates and the masters influencing the groups, where we find these ideas coming to a point of application in the phenomenal form. So let's begin looking at each of the 7 major ways of illusion, and we'll get as far as we can today, and at least first consider the way of wrong perception. And what I propose is that we think of these in relation to the illusion of freedom.